Hey guys, Basil and Will with Grayson Hobby, and today we have a new product unboxing.
So what we have here today is the KingKong or LDARC. This is the 800X wing.
It's a complete FPV ready kit.
So plug and play with FPV camera and VTX. So guys that are looking to go from the multi-rotor world to fixed wing flying with FPV, this is a great start. They'll get you into it. There's some soldering involved and some traditional plane building.
Right.
So it's a little bit of everything to get you going. Pretty simple build, very minimal build time realistically for what you're doing.
Right. Today we're going to go over the whole plane. We're going to unbox it all. We're going to go over some tips and tricks from Will, and then we're going to show you how it's complete. It's ready to go. All you need to add your receiver and battery, and you're flying with FPV. Right.
And irony is, this one's actually not ready to go because I haven't put the servos in it, and we'll tell you about why. So this is a great wing to go from guys that can build your own drones. You've been building drones forever, and you want to get into FPV wings. You want to try it because fixed wing flight is fun in its own different aspect. But if you guys want to look into it and you know how to solder and all, this is a great kit for that because it kind of brings the build. It's simple building, but it's still building. It's not just a throw a receiver in and go. So it's got the fun of building it because I know anybody that builds your own quad, that's part of the fun. So you got the building of the plane itself mixed with the soldering like you would with an FPV quad.
A modern day builder.
All right, guys. So what we have here is the KingKong or LDARC Wing 800X. This particular one I'm working on. I just started building it the other night. I haven't finished it yet, and I'll go over why in a little bit. Just a last bit assembly process that you kind of want to do a little out of order, so you don't screw something up in the long run. Put
this aside. Nice looking wing though. Nice size.
Yeah. It's a lot like, if anybody's familiar with the E-Flight Theory wing, stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of that one, but it's a little different here and there. It's got some really nice hard plastic reinforcement. The one thing I hated about the Theory was the hatch, but this thing's got a nice plastic hatch.
Tight enough where it stays on in flight, but easy enough you can get them off on the ground. Where the Theory would break every time I took it off.
So that's that. Nice. But yeah, it's got room for like a 1500 3-cell, 4-cell.
And LED?
LEDs, yeah.
All right. Well, let's open this box up and see what's in it. So it's called the 800X, but it's actually 768 millimeters.
Yep.
And this is the VTX. This is the whole.
This
FPV.
is the plug and play plus FPV that we're carrying. Okay. They do make a kit one that's bare foam only in a plug and play that doesn't have the FPV equipment. But bang for the buck, this thing comes with the mini Swift camera and a VTX. So it's a nice little combo deal that'll get you going. All right. So let's open this thing up. So what we got here, sticker sheet, very plain basic stickers. A wing like this, it's really easy to make your own stickers, stuff like that. Manual. One thing I do like about the manual, it is color pages. The wording is kind of off just because it's a Chinese manual.
But you can figure it out though. Right?
But you can get it figured out. It comes with the nice list of parts, so you know what you got there. And then talks about the CG. There's a couple of planes out there, they don't even list the CG. So this one's nice because it comes with CG. It tells you what degrees to throw.
Okay.
So what we got here
right up the bat, you pulled out a big bag of goodies.
Yeah, motor, speed control, the BEC, which is a separate BEC on this thing, and 2 Emax servos. So we got that parts bag here.
And you're gonna go with what kind of?
Yeah, we'll open up in a minute. But there's your parts bag. You have a big bag of plastic parts here. So let's get all this out first.
And props.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the FPV part. So this is your camera and VTX and all that.
All right.
So this is just electronics for the most part. Then you got looks like canopy, wing spar, stuff like that. There's another bag. The fuselage.
It just keeps coming.
The right wing, and it's labeled right wing in case you don't know for some reason. And the left wing.
And the wrong wing.
And unlike some other vendors, it includes a left and a right wing, not 2 left wings. I'm gonna cut this with really crappy scissors. Sorry, guys.
Tape all over them.
Yeah. So the fuselage here, and it's got little pockets where you're gonna see it's bare foam. So none of the plastic is pre-installed.
That's EPO foam.
This is EPO foam, yes.
It's really durable, easy to repair. Some hot glue, epoxy, CA, anything works on it.
Yeah, contact cement works really good, like the Foam Tac, UHU pour, or Bob Smith makes some.
All right, we got the wrong wing or the right wing? That's the wrong wing.
The wrong wing, yeah.
Yep.
I'm not gonna open both wings. I'm just gonna open the one. But so again, the wing is bare foam. There's nothing there. You'll glue in 2 spars here, little plastic skid. There's the pocket for the wing spar. LED lights and all that.
Oh wow! So
It's an interlocking joint in the fuselage, so when you glue it,
lots of gluing surface area, right?
Yeah, lots of surface area.
Perfect.
So
what kind of, on your build, just let everyone know, what kind of glue did you use?
I used some of the I wanted to try some of the Bob Smith foam cure is what I tried. I just had a little bottle here. It's all right. It's basically a contact cement. It's a lot like Beacon Foam Tack. I like the UHU pour better. It gets tackier faster than this, but this did work. So this is a contact cement where you put it on the surface and the surface. I generally don't put it on the sliding surface yet, but only the sides that mate straight up. So what I do is glue, and then I'll put it together, let it touch, pull it apart, let it air dry for about 5 minutes or so, and then right before I put it together, I put a thin coat on any surface that slides together.
Okay, so you put
so that would be any of this side right here, these little sides here. The reason being, this glue, when it gets very tacky, is hard to make slide across. And the last thing you want to do is your wing gluing like that. So when I do that, you don't want it gluing like halfway down where you can't get it in.
That won't fly good.
But the surfaces, what will happen is the parts that you let air dry for a few minutes will tack up really quick, gives the ability for the other surfaces to dry overnight. So
now, I know in the past I had to rough up some foam. Do you have to rough it up at all?
I would probably take, you can get a sanding block from like the dollar store or something like that, just a rough sandpaper.
Nail finger files or something like that?
They actually have sanding blocks. I mean, just coarse, maybe 100 grit or something like that, and just kind of rough it up. I actually took
that's really
my fingernail.
smooth.
Yeah, this is a waxy, smooth surface, so you want to rough it up for better adhesion. I don't recommend 5-minute epoxy. You could build it there. But if you're going to use epoxy, take a toothpick and poke a bunch of little holes. That way the glue can soak in like a rib cage almost, create a structure to it. It'll help hold it. If you are going to use epoxy, I would definitely use a vinyl tape or packing tape or some sort on both sides to further secure it. Just because after a few crashes, the epoxy loosens and it'll separate.
It doesn't stick
so you might be flying great. You have one crash and then you go to pick it up and your wing comes off in flight, so you don't want to do that.
So you recommend like a foam tack?
I recommend a contact cement typically for this EPO.
Gotcha.
But that's what I use on the Dynam planes and all that too. But enough of that. So what's in here? Okay, so this is the wing spar part, and I like how they have everything
look at
labeled.
That is so
nice.
Cool. So you know exactly what that is. Part 4. So it's probably
in the little diagram the manual tells you. But what you're gonna have is the the little flat spars that are gonna go in the wing. So you'll have those 4, and you'll have the center carbon tube, which is the strength between the 2 wings, and then this bottom plate here. So that's that. You're gonna get a black and orange canopy, so you have color choice on this, which is really nice.
So if you're following a buddy or something like that, you know who's.
You can split it up as well as, the orange is high visibility, the black is, not as visible.
So when you crash in a big field, see the orange.
Yeah, that's why I went with the orange for visibility, because you're flying FPV and things happen. Somebody plugs on your channel and
All right, let's stick with that one here.
All right, moving on to the next plastic bag is a ton of parts. We have black plastic and orange plastic.
And again, these are labeled part 5.
Yeah, this is going to be your nose skid, the bottom rear skid, the control horns for the elevons, your plastic pockets that you're going to glue in to hold the canopy mounts, the wing skids, and I believe that's it. Yeah. So you got 2 different choices of color there. And then this one is the FPV box. This is the little FPV bag. Again, you have orange and black choice. This is going to hold a mini size camera, like a mini Swift, and it's going to hold the VTX if you use their VTX. It has 2 little screw mounts there. So the assembled unit actually looks like...
Oh,
and I didn't glue this in.
Pod.
Yeah, I didn't glue this in so I can show you guys. Looks like that.
Oh, wow.
So again, it fits a mini camera. It's got little O-rings that kind of somewhat soft mount it. Doesn't really do that much, but it takes up the space depending on what brand of mini camera you have. So that's mainly what the O-rings are for.
Cool.
So that's that. The next bag is going to be the bunch of little miscellaneous loose stuff here. You got your LED covers.
For the wings.
The screws for the LEDs covers.
Okay.
This is going to be your easy links, quick links, push rods. These little brass rings are for your motor. So the motor screws, the motor mount, and the brass rings are going to be in this bag right here.
That's popular a lot. Those
and what you'll do is with the washers, you'll actually insert the motor and an 1/8 of a turn to lock it in, and then you screw it down. So the motor can actually be field stripped in a way.
Okay.
But I would personally bolt it down because you can take the whole back piece off without gluing it.
Gotcha.
So that's that.
And then all the LEDs looks like.
Yep. And then there's the LED system with the little LED, the little board that you wire everything up to. So this is going to be something you're going to solder. So, and it's going to come with 2 size props, 6.4s and 5.5s.
All right.
I believe the 5.5 is going to be for 4-cell, and the 6.4 is going to be for 3-cell.
Oh,
I
wow.
think
so
that's what they did.
4 and 3.
Yeah. Now, don't quote me on that one. We'll mess with that later. But it's going to come with 2 different size props.
But just blue. That's interesting.
Just blue. Yeah. So you want a prop? I mean, these are like APC props too. So if you have your own props laying around, you can get 5.5 APC or 6.4.
The best bag of them all. The FPV. Oh, I have 2 bags.
Yeah, well, there's 2 bags left. So the next bag is gonna be
one of the best.
Get this open.
So right off the bat, it's the Emax servos. I haven't seen any kit that comes with Emax servos ever.
Emax makes a good servo. These are not only these decent little servos, these are Metal Gear. Wow. So these are like that 8-9 gram servo, but they're Metal Gear. And if anybody that's flown a wing before, don't ever put plastic gear servos in. All it takes is one crappy landing, and you strip out a servo. And nothing sucks worse than having to rip the plane apart to change the servo out because you saved an extra $2 by going plastic gear. So you have an ESO8 Metal Gear. Okay. Different control horns, and you'll probably end up using just the single horn there. Yeah. And make sure you put your servo horn screw in it. Okay. That's that. You have a 35 amp speed control. It does run BL Heli. The 5 amp Beck. So it's a 3 amp 5 volt Beck. There are smaller ones on the market if you don't like that, but it does come with one. And because this is an opto ESC, there's no BEC on the speed control.
So for those guys who don't know, this actually powers the servos
and the LEDs. Yes. So anything 5 volt that's powered by it, including the camera and VTX on this particular design. Right. The motor is a Sunny Sky. KingKong branded, but it's a Sunny Sky 2205 motor. So you can see it's made by Sunny Sky. Okay. 2205, 2500 kV. So this thing's going to be pretty damn quick.
That's the same ones in the ET Max?
Yes, this is actually where we got the ET Max motors from. And the last bag is the FPV equipment.
This is some high quality stuff. Right
now, again, this is the one. Don't be confused when you look online and find some. There are some that don't come with this. This comes with a Mini Swift, which is a great little camera. Oh, the video on these things are so nice. The Mini Swift camera comes with this harness. You're not actually going to use that, so I'm not sure why it came with that. The camera itself, full-size lens. It's a 2.1. So this is a really nice lens, especially for FPV Wings, because you're going to have a good field of view without getting crazy fisheye. Gotcha. But this camera is a very good little camera. They work very well. A lot of people argue this is one of the better CCDs that RunCam made. Okay. To this day. And then the VTX. This is a little cloverleaf antenna with a little rubber guard, which
looks like a mushroom from all Mario Brothers.
Yeah. It's 400 milliwatt VTX, 40 channel. This is a 5 volt VTX, guys, so be very careful if you're soldering this up and not going exactly the way they do it. Keep in mind this is 5 volt power input, so you don't want to run battery voltage into it because you'll fry it. The harness that comes with it.
Is that, do you know the name brand of this one?
It's made by KingKong.
Okay.
So you're going to have the wire lead here. You're going to have 2 sets of positives, 2 sets of grounds. The reason I did that is some people like to run the camera leads at higher voltage, etc. You can do that. It gives you the option. I ran it all to the 5 volt board. Now, one thing I keep in mind here, guys, these wires are a little short. So what I would actually do is wire those together, do a little JST connection inline or an XT30, whatever you got laying around, something that you can unplug and plug in and add about 3 to 4 inches of wire for this particular one. And going to this one, you'll see with the pod all the way forward, the wire coming from here to there, not enough to really get around the battery and all that, so it's in the way. I'm going to have to go back, and that's actually one of the reasons I didn't finish this one, because I have to go back and resolder that.
So you have to add about, like you said, 3 or 4 inches so they go up and over.
Yeah, you're going to want about 3 to 4 inches of extra wire.
That's like a guitar string right there.
Yeah. And in fact, it actually unplugs the camera because I can't plug it in all the way without unplugging the camera. So that's why I went through on that. So But I'll go through a couple tips that I learned in the build process here. I got here in the build. I haven't completely finished this plane. It's new. We just got it in, but I wanted to get my hands on this one, so I had a little experience for anybody calling in with questions or sending messages. So a couple things here on the actual build.
Okay.
First, foremost, if you do get the FPV one, if you're running the FPV equipment, you're going to want to extend the wires going from this little board where the UBEC is to the camera, because you want to be able to run the wires down the side of the body out of the battery bay. The UBEC, you do have to cut the wire in half and then solder one side with the JST or the servo connector, and then there. You're going to want to run the wires through. Like, I would wait to put the covers on till the very end. Like, when you get all the wires run, it's easier to get the board through, because the outer ones run through here to the top, and the upper ones run the little ones run on the top side.
Okay.
So what I did is I did wire up all the wiring like they showed in the diagram. Again, this is just too short to be of use. So you're going to want to extend those wires. And then this back, I cut the lead, just literally cut it in half, fold it over, cut it in half. Gives me enough length to move it around. This is enough wiring here. I would probably, if you're going to extend these wires, solder that one to the back side, solder the JST servo plug on the other side. That way you have the most room to get to a receiver. The receiver is going to go in this area here behind the battery.
What kind of receiver does it come with?
It does not come with a receiver, so you're going to have to provide your own. X4R-ish kind of receiver.
Right?
If you're going to do Spectrum, you're going to want like an AR400 or so. You don't need a ton of channels on this. Because the only thing you're driving is 2 servos and a motor.
So 4 channels is really what you need, right?
Yeah, the AR420 or whatever will work.
Or that new one from...
Yeah, like if you're the Jumper R8s or the KS Servo one will fit. Stuff
Crossfire
like that.
or anything.
Yeah, you can do it. I mean, as long as it has a PWM output.
Yeah. All right.
The motor wires. So the motor goes in, runs through the plastic plate, and then to the other side. In fact, actually, let me unscrew this and just show you. This comes off here.
That's pretty cool, like that.
So you'll see the wires are tucked in there. You got the 4 screws there. Okay. And there's little brass washers going between that takes the slop up. So that's what those little brass washers are for. They go in between the screw and that. Thing it actually can be, if you keep it loose enough, you can actually twist it and pop it off. Okay. I don't like doing that just because I'd rather have the motor secure. Yeah. Considering it's only 2 screws to get to this motor, I'm not going to.
A lot of new builds are going like that.
Yeah. So guys, when you're putting it together, once you get it together, run up the motor, make sure it's spinning the proper direction for this plane. The prop's spinning the right way and all that, because you don't want it spinning the wrong way after you put it all together. You gotta take it all apart. It's not horrible to get to, but again, it would be nicer to have quick disconnects, but it does solder together. When
you put the props on, make sure the letters, if you see them,
go to the front.
Go face the way of travel. So everybody wants to put the prop on correctly on the motor, but actually it goes, the letters face the travel direction of flight.
The face of the plane, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so, and the speed control, you'll have the heat sink. You'll drop the heat sink in there. There's some conductive little pad that you'll put on. The speed control comes with a shrink tube. It's very, very, very thin shrink tube. So use a little heat gun. Don't use a lighter. Use a heat gun on light heat, and you can use probably a hair dryer or whatever if you need to shrink that plastic. And then you'll drop it down in here, and then you'll bolt the 2 bolts here, and it'll bolt together. So that's that little module. But keep in mind, if you run all the wiring, if you do it like I did all together, to save space and all that, you're gonna have to make sure this is on the top side when you run it through. I did it the wrong way. I had to desolder it and then put it back. Okay. So that's something I learned.
Not the end of the world though, right?
No, not the end of the world, but it just makes things a little more difficult. Right. So that goes to the top, wires to the bottom.
We need to talk about this. We've already
the camera pod. It's pretty much all there. The button changes the channels. Okay. The wires extend it. Get it going.
God, you can use this on pretty much anything else once you.
Yeah, it's a little pod.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Unfortunately, I was hoping that this was going to bolt in, but it actually glues in this pod.
Oh, it doesn't screw in?
Yeah, it doesn't screw in. There's no screw mounts. Okay. Actually, so the motor mounts. These 2 plastic tabs go through the bottom and here. I do recommend gluing those in so they don't spin, because when you try to thread the screw in, it's just going to keep spinning. So go ahead and glue those in, do the rest of the build, and then get back to that later. Yeah. What I actually found that made things easier, I took the little plastic pin and I screwed the screw in once and then backed it out. That cut the threads in it. It made it so much easier to get this thing together because I kept having issues where it would spin around and I had to kind of grip it from the bottom side to get it apart. So actually, I would go ahead and just run a screw down until it stops and then back it out before you actually assemble it and glue them in.
All right, so for those who are new, how do you attach or glue in or secure
So the servos, the reason I did not glue the servos in, these things fit pretty tight as they are. You are gonna wanna glue them in with a very minimal amount of glue. Some guys, what they do is either hot glue or the rubber cement glue just a little bit here. Keep in mind there's a sticker there. But this fits very tight, but some guys actually glue just a minimum amount of glue and then tape over it. That way if they ever have to get it out, it can. If you put so much glue on there, this thing is gonna be a nightmare getting out without ripping foam out. But I recommend building the plane, getting everything done, and gluing the servos last. Okay. The reason being is once your radio's set up and all that, the last thing you wanna do is plug in that battery and all that, and the servo wasn't centered, and next thing you know, it's burying into the foam, bending the hinge, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So what you want to definitely make sure you do is have everything set up and get it to where, and I don't even put the screw in it at the beginning. I just drop them down in there. Yeah. Set my easy links. You'll put an easy link on both sides. You'll have to take a little 2mm drill bit and remount the one hole.
Why did
put it together.
The hole's big enough. I've never seen.
It's just because of the servos they're using.
Yeah, but I've never seen a kit where I didn't have to glue this.
So that will go in. You'll tighten down the easy links. Quick note on these little quick links, there is a washer for each side and the lock nut. So when you put it together, let's see if I can go ahead and do this real quick. I'll show you guys. The washers kind of keep the little friction down. So you'll run it through, run a washer on each side, and this little lock nut.
And that you don't want too tight.
And what you want to be able to do is move that around. If you tighten that up, if you go till it's too tight, it will bind. If it can't freely move, you don't want it sloppy, but you want it to be just enough to where it can move around freely, okay? If you over tighten that, you run the risk of damaging a servo or breaking the plastic link. You'll do that on both sides. I recommend taking a drop of super glue on the threads, on the back side of the threads here, once you get it together.
Like an eyedropper or something. Or
just a little bit of super glue. It keeps it from the nut from backing off. Yeah. That's all it is. It's basically a clear Loctite. Yeah. But Loctite will eat the plastic, so you don't want to use regular Loctite on those. Okay. So you're going to put that on both sides, run that there. So once I get it set up, basically, once it's done, then I'll lift the servo out, put the screw in it to where it's centered. I'll center the screw, and then I'll just put a little glue and drop it back in, because it won't take much to run that wiring.
Nope.
So I'd recommend doing the servos glued in last. Go ahead and get them mounted, get them set up, but don't glue them in until the very end. Don't forget to not glue them in. Also at the same time.
You'll notice the very first time you fly. You'll probably take off and then probably fly very poorly.
But that was pretty much the only things I ran into, just the, oh crap, I did this wrong and I got to go back, and it'll just take extra time. Very similar to a FPV wing that both of us have owned in the past from another company.
And that was a good theory that we had.
That was a good theory. In theory, that plane was very nice for what it was, but the price was just so high. And
we got ours in clearance.
The canopies just sucked so bad on it.
And the canopy never stayed on, actually.
Yeah, I think yours actually came off when I hit you in midair one time. But that's another story. All right. But I think, guys, this is something bang for the buck that's going to get you an FPV.
It's got lots of high name, high brand quality components. I'd say that. Sony
Good
Sky,
camera, good speed control, good motor, good servos. It's Metal Gear servos. It's good motor, good ESC.
There's nothing really that could go wrong with this. I mean, the plane has already been a proven platform on something similar.
There's nothing that could go wrong that you didn't assemble.
Yes.